Hello and welcome to this new tutorial. I'm going to show you how to use the Qt Places plugin provided with the Evenz theme. This plugin is widely used by thousands of websites from any field: government website, instruction website, artists, and similar. So, what the plugin does is it allows you to geolocate any custom or default post type, and it also adds a new custom post type called places. And once you have your places or your custom post types geolocated, you're able to create an interactive map like this one, which basically is very useful to navigate the world finding what you need. So basically, you have many events across the world. What you can do is to create a map with all the events, and people can easily find the one closer to their place. The most important part to use this plugin is to first set up the Google Maps API. The Google Maps API was free till 2018, but it came to a point that they had too many requests, so it has now a free base where they give you a free credit, about $250 or $300, which, by the way, it's a lot of coverage because we have about 10,000 visits a day and we use about $30 a month of credit. And it is based on the amount of visits that you have on your website. So first of all, we want to be sure that the Qt Places plugin is in place, and once done, under Settings Qt Places, you find all the possibilities that we are now going to set. When installing this on the event theme, the event post type is going to automatically be enabled, but you can as well enable this plugin for any other custom post type that you have in your website. So once enabled, the result is going to be that under your event you're going to have additional fields, places details, that can be filled in, or you can copy the details from any existing place. So if you have, for instance, a recurring event in a certain place, or you have, let's say, 10 conference halls and any of your event is in these 10 conference halls, you may want to, for instance, add your place first, and then once it's stored, you can recycle the details of your place simply by choosing it from the drop-down list within the event details. So let's go back to the settings. The first thing to do is to create your API key. This requires a valid and functional Google account. This is ours, for instance. You may want to read the instruction here. What you don't need really to read deeply is how to implement it by the code point of view. In fact, the only thing you need is to use the API key. Once you are in this page, you can go in the Google Cloud Platform console. Here you can enable an endless amount of API keys. We are just using now, as you can see, the Map JavaScript API and the Geocoding API. The Geocoding, you can see that only has 3 calls because it is used only when you give to your address a request to extract the coordinates, and then our software will store the coordinates for any further display of the map. In this way you will save a lot of time and money, because geocoding extraction in the Google Map credit system is much more expensive than just displaying a map. This is why we made a software where you can geocode an address the first time, that we are going to see in a few seconds, and then the coordinates are stored for any further usage. So, once you are in this screen, maybe you are not landing here if you don't have any API in place. You will probably land up here. And what you want to do is to make sure that both geocoding API and map JavaScript API are enabled. So once clicked here, what you have to do is, in this place, very hard to see, by default is disabled, you have to click enable. Now this is enabled, so you can see that our only possible action is to disable it, which we are not clicking, of course. Here we have straight away a chart showing how many requests we have a day. You can see, for instance, this spike due to the publication of our new theme. And what you have here are three tabs: metrics, quotas, and credentials. Quotas is a page where you can define how many maximum amount of map loading you can have in your page. Why you want to set this? You want to set this because whatever you may do, or maybe because your security settings are incorrect, or you forgot to set address restrictions, some malicious visitor can, of course, copy your API credentials, because these are clear in your HTML source code, because they are passed with JavaScript to Google for the authentication. So what you want to do is to make very sure that you don't get a $20 billion bill for the next month. So what you do, you just set the maximum load per day. I don't remember the exact numbers, but more or less it could be that each map loading is 1 cent per load or less, something like this. Now, since 1 year we are using this and we still did not consume the whole free credit that Google gave us. So this is what is about the quotas. And here, of course, you can see the price and details. Unless you don't have a very massive amount of traffic, you are not even going to spend any money, at least for the first year, and after that you're going probably to spend a few cents a month for a normal business website. Then about credential, this is the most important part that we want to see. How does it work? As Google Maps is now, as we just saw before, a payment service, you will need to create an API key, which basically is a password used to make sure that the people using the map are the ones authorized to make it. So you need to create a new API key, and once done, you will need to set some restrictions. So I already went in my page. For instance, this is the name of the API key, because you can have as many as you want. You need to make sure that you check restrictions by HTTP referrers, and then you will need to add your domain. And here comes the tricky part that you need to be very careful with. So how does it work? For Google, a website that is quantumteams.com is different from a website that is www.quantumteams.com, which is different from a website that is quantumteams.xyz, or is even different from a website that is quantumteams.xyz/product demo or anything else. This is why we have such a long list of allowed domains. Some of these are even old and we can remove because are for testing purposes only. For instance, with the trash bin, you can just delete these. Here we go. So what you want to do is to make sure you use wildcards and you register your different protocols that you may have. So if your website is available both on HTTP and HTTPS, make sure you register your domain with both protocols. Also, make sure you register wildcard.yourdomain.extension and as well wildcard.yourdomain.extension/wildcard. In this way, we're going to have the possibility to use this same API key on every different subpage or subdomain. Otherwise, it will not work properly. Last setting, very important, make sure you set it to don't restrict the key. Why this? This restriction is not about who can use the key, but it's about what the key can do. So, if you set this in order to restrict the key, you should need two different API keys for different functionalities. For instance, you should need one API key for the geolocation and one API key for displaying the maps. But for the way the Qt Places plugin is done and to simplify your life, you just need one API key and you need to set this to not restrict the access. In this way, your same key will be the same both for geolocation and both for displaying the map. So we use the same key even to access to this API. Otherwise, it would be only for this one. Once done, you save. They say it takes up to 5 minutes. By experience, I can tell you this is not true. It can take up to even 2-3 hours sometimes to take effect. What does it mean? If you set up your API key and you copy this and you set your plugin and then you start using it and then it says your API key is not valid, it can mean that simply they did not update the system. So you just want to give it some time, wait a couple of hours, go get a beer or something like this and try again later. If after a couple of hours it still is not working, then what you need to do is first of all check your domains. Be sure that you have the exact domain where you are having the issue, just for troubleshooting, specified as allowed URL in your application, and save again and try again. Then what you want to make sure is that you correctly paste the API key in the settings and that you didn't copy any empty space at the beginning or at the end. So once you are done with the setup of the key, you just copy that, then you go here, because if you don't use it, you will see this kind of message. If you see this message, you can see why this is happening. You are using this API without a key, with a link explaining what the error is about. Why is this happening? This is happening because the Google Maps API key is not set. So what you need to do is to make sure you go here, copy this, and paste it here. And these other two settings doesn't usually need to be changed. Just if you have another Google Maps plugin and they are conflicting, you can disable the Qt Places Maps JavaScript loading in frontend. Then let's update our options. Once done, and before going any further, once imported the demo content and set our API key, we will now check our website if it is displaying properly. As you can see, once the API key is in place, the map is appearing without the error that we were seeing before. We are now ready to start adding events, places, and geolocating addresses. So let's go on. We will start by the event that we created in the previous tutorial, and we want now to add a specific geolocation address to this event. So what you can do is to add the address from scratch. How do you do that? You simply go in the event setting, scroll until you arrive to the places details, which, if are not visible, can be enabled in the screen options. And then you type location, name, address, and city. Then in this specific address, you want to type the full address that you want to geolocate. So street, zip code, country, whatever you want to type in here. Once you click geocode this address, the coordinates will appear here. Sometimes an address does not geolocate properly because Google Geolocation has a certain voluntary amount of error compared to the places where things are. If this happens, you are very free to manually paste your longitude and latitude in the place below. In this way, you can completely avoid the automated geolocation and set the marker exactly in the place you want. Then you have some optional fields, which are the ones that are going to be used once you have your map in place, and they're going to appear in this space. Or in case of a single place, these are the data that are going to appear in a nice table with within the place detail screen. There are a couple other options here. You can optionally choose a custom font awesome icon here, which you can choose at this page, and you can decide if you want to show the picture of this event, so use the featured image here, like in this example, or if you want to use the icon, like in this example. If you set these options, this specific place will override the global setting that are created as shortcode parameter. So in the shortcode, you can choose if you want to show featured images or icons, but if a specific place has set to show it as icon, it will override the place map shortcode setting. Once done, you can even choose a custom color. If you set a color, you can have a different color for each marker of the map, which can be useful to distinguish different type of events, for instance. So, as alternative, if, as we were saying before, you have certain fixed places where you work, or where you have your events, or where you have your concerts, or whatever, and you created them already as places, so you can store your venues as places in this post type that only has these fields. When you create your event, instead of setting all the details again, there is a very, very quick function, which is this one. From the drop-down, you can choose an existing location, like Dubai International Convention Center, and even though nothing is going to happen here, and we are not changing anything within the specific event we are copying, once saving, WordPress will automatically for you grab all the event details from this place and set them here, just in this way. And here we go. So, all this data, if we change these now, we are not changing the Dubai conference in the place. So you can copy the details from some place that is close to your venue stored as place and then change it here. This will not affect the stored data of the place, but this will customize your event settings. This is what's required in order to create a list of events that are available as places map. So, each one of our events available from the demo content has stored their own geolocation details. As you can see here, the necessary data is always this field, the coordinates field. So if this field is empty, your place will not appear within the map. This is what you need to always remember. So you can set an address to geocode here and then write another address right here. To be more specific or to add other indication, so this is totally up to you. Once done, you can add the map to any page you want. How to add the map to the page? If you want to create a map, you have two ways. You can use the shortcode manually, and the shortcode parameters are actually explained in the Qt Places settings page. So these are all the attributes. Just remember to delete the empty attributes to avoid conflicts. You can even use just Qt Places, it will automatically extract only the places that are here, or you can specify, for instance, a custom post type or a custom taxonomy to display and specific terms to filter within the taxonomy. So if you add the Qt Places settings fields to normal posts because you make a travel blog and you want to geocode any post of your blog, you can do that, and you can set here, instead of PC category, you can set category. And here, if you want to, for instance, to make a map only of the Asian travels, and you have a category with ID 3 that is about Asia, you can set 3 as term, and this will filter only your posts tagged within Asian category. Then you have other parameters explained below. But now this plugin even has a quicker way to be used. So what we can do, create a page, choose your template. Let's go with a full width template. Then we can publish it. Make sure to switch to the WP Bakery Composer. For the sake of our explanation, let's hide the page header directly. Backend, add element, and under Qt Places, add your map. Every parameter is available within these tabs. So the first thing is, if you enable the debug, you're going to see your parameter in front end. This is useful if you don't see any result. If the map is empty, enable the debug and check what you are setting. You may be setting conflicting parameter, like for instance some category that is in a different post type, or I don't know, choosing a category that is empty, something like this. So you can choose event, maximum amount of items you want to display, and then there are some design settings. You have 3 templates: fixed sidebar, sidebar left, and sidebar light. These two you can close the list and just see the map. Then you can choose if you want to see the map open or closed when you open the page. So let's just leave it open. Maximum desktop height. So we suggest a maximum mobile height of about 400 pixels. You can even leave the parameter blank. And then you have other design parameters you can choose. And then you have the colors. You can leave normal map colors and then dark or light map. For instance, we can set it in light. After this, you have buttons color, which we can set any color. Text color purple, background white, list background color white, marker text color purple. Let's save the changes and preview the result. So we have light map, white backgrounds of the marker and on the list, and purple marker with white icon. And here we go. Our map is made. So this is how you add a map about every content you have in your events. If you want to filter them, and for instance you just want to display a list of your conferences, what you want to do, now let's add some top padding, otherwise we don't see the full map. You may even want, for instance, to change the menu opacity for a specific page within the theme possibilities and set it to opaque, so we have now more spacing at the top. Here we go. If you want to display filters in the map, you can choose an appropriate taxonomy that belongs to the specific post type that you are using. So we are on the event type, we can use this taxonomy. Once done, some filters will appear here. Here we go. So we can filter the results. But if we just want to show one specific list of things here, this is when you can set, for instance, conference here, event type conference. The filter went away because we just have one category to show. There is nothing to click. There is no option to choose something different. So you see that the results are less now, and we only have the chosen event type. Here we go. Then you have other parameters to play with, and this depends upon the usability result you want to achieve and where you are placing the map. Just make sure it shows up nicely in mobile and doesn't prevent scrolling, and you are not placing a full width map with the mouse wheel enabled, otherwise people will not be able to scroll the page. For instance, if we set a sidebar closed and we enable the mouse wheel, this will really be very annoying for your visitors. So this is not nice, because while scrolling with the mouse I'm just zooming in and out. It's no way I can scroll the page. So just make sure you don't set the scroll wheel, for instance, with a full screen map. This is pretty much everything about the Qt Places plugin included with the Evenz post type, with the Evenz WordPress theme. And we are going to see in the next tutorial how to create theme schedules. So schedule within the default theme schedule post type, which is here, and how to add it to any event or display it within any page with Page Builder. Thank you for watching.